Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream on TaylorvilleDailyNews.com's Facebook and WTIM TV YouTube, brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark, and People's Bank and Trust. They put people first. I have the Christian County State's Attorney, Wes Bogenpole, in studio. He is up for re-election, running as a Democrat. It's great to have you back in studio here, Mr. Bogenpole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So let's go and dive right into the candidate interview. Tell us a little bit about your experience.
Sure. So I became a licensed attorney in 2014. Since then, I've been a prosecutor basically my whole career. I started off in prosecution in Montgomery County as an assistant state's attorney, where I worked there for over 7 years, handling all cases from anything down from a parking ticket all the way up to helping try a murder case, and everything in between, including juvenile cases, DCFS abuse and neglect cases, and assisting, the county board in civil issues like I have to today. In 21, I got a call from then State's Attorney Mike Havera, who's basically asked me to come work for him to basically get a transition going to where I would take over for him on January 1st of 22, and been doing that job since then. So that's basically my experience.
Oh, all said and done, how much experience is that in terms of length? What is that? You mentioned 7 years. I'm really bad at math.
Yeah, so I'll be an attorney. I guess my work anniversary as a prosecutor would have been 8 years on October 7th. That's when I started working in the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office. And I've been with the Christian County State's Attorney's Office since November 15th of last year. So I've been here for 11 months and as the state's attorney for a little bit over 10 months.
Well, this is your first chance to really run and achieve and to try and become Christian County State's Attorney. So tell me, why did you decide to run?
Well, it started a long time ago. Being a prosecutor is something that I always wanted to do. Whenever I decided I wanted to go to law school, that was really, the end goal. Like I didn't start out thinking I wanted to be a private attorney. I really wanted to work with law enforcement. I wanted to work, with the community to keep it safe. Those are my, two goals that I really, wanted to achieve. So it started a long time ago. And then, working in the state's attorney's office, you see, you work alongside your boss, the state's attorney, and the important cases that they have to handle. And it's really something that you want to strive for. So that's really, what I do. And for me, wanting to be the state's attorney is really about, like I said, protecting the community and protecting my family. I work with the police every day to keep my family safe and everybody's family safe here in Christian County. I live in Morrisonville here in the county. We moved here over 8 years ago. Long before this election started, we moved to Morrisonville, where I live with my wife Melanie, where we just celebrated our 7-year wedding anniversary yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We've got a daughter, Cora, who's 2, June, who's 5, and Alfred, who is 8 weeks old. So we've been very busy lately.
Well, when it comes to this race right here, why should the voters return you to office, and why do you want the voters to return you to office?
Sure. Well, I think the most important thing that we're talking about here in the state's attorney's position is this is a lot different than most positions on the ballot, and that it's almost doesn't have anything to do with politics. This is really a job interview process, and you need to be picking the candidate that's got the most experience. And my experience as a prosecutor compared to my opponents is, night and day. I've been a prosecutor by basically my whole career. It's what I focused on. And that's what I wanted to do. That's what I want to continue to do. My opponent, he was a prosecutor for about 19 months in Sangamon County. And his career as a prosecutor came to an end because he was given the choice of either resigning or being fired. And that was based on a situation that ultimately got his license to be a lawyer suspended last year. So it's something that, you've got to be, it's a very important position, and you got to be able to trust the person that's in the position to not only do the job right, because the stakes are high. As a defense attorney, if you you don't do a good job, your client gets the benefit of the doubt, and they might get a new trial or something along those lines. If the state's attorney doesn't do a good job, and they're found not guilty, they're done. They walk. There's no second chance. So the position's extremely important. So my experience, I say, is the main reason why I think the voters should continue to keep me as the state's attorney. My second thing that I think is really important is the support of law enforcement I have. I work with law enforcement every day. It's what I strive to be available to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My phone's always on. If they give me a call, I'm going to answer. And that's important to them because they have questions that they need answered quick. And that's what I've done. I've received several endorsements from law enforcement agencies recently. The PBPA Unit 16, which is Taylorville's police union, they endorsed me just last month. That was a unanimous vote for me to be endorsed by their union. I've also been endorsed, and I'm going to be sending out some information on these endorsements real soon by Chief Dwayne Wheeler of Taylorville, Chief Daniel Bland of Pana, Chief Brian Wade of Assumption, Chief Aaron Morgan of Edinburgh, Chief Travis Peden of Stonington, Chief Ron Burke of Morrisonville. The only two in there that I didn't include because I just didn't ask them because they're involved in an election is Edinburgh or Kincaid and the sheriff's office, which I didn't want to put them in an awkward position because they're running for office as well. But everywhere else, the message I think is pretty clear that they're happy with how things are going, and they want to see myself continue in the position because they realize how high the stakes are if the job isn't handled correctly. And I believe that's exactly what would happen if my opponent got in the office. One of the things that I pride myself on, which, I heard some comments yesterday, I guess, about my work ethic. But I'm at the courthouse every day. My job's very important to me. It's a high priority, but it is not more important than my family. So at the end of the day, after I'm done with work, I go home and I spend the evening with my family. But before I leave the office every day, I pack up a box of files and I head home. And once I get the kids to bed and help my wife with our 8-week-old, even worse, even more help needed, I get back to work and, get ready for the next day and get out offers and all the things you got to do as the state's attorney. So that's what I do. And finally, I'd say the last reason that I'm here or that I want the voters to continue to keep me here is my commitment to the community. Like I said earlier, I've been living here in Christian County for 8 years. We chose to live here, chose to raise our family here. We're active in the community. I coach my daughter's soccer team and I coached her t-ball team this summer. And, we were here 8 years ago when we moved here. We're going to be here in another 8 years. My opponent, he's lived in Sangamon County his entire life. He claims to live in Taylorville now, but I guess moving to Taylorville and renting a house on the eve of election, I'd say isn't necessarily genuine that he's here to stay. So I would say that my commitment to being here and continuing to be here is important to me.
You mentioned the stakes, Mr. Bogenpole. This might be a bit of a loaded question, but how would you characterize what's at stake here during this election?
Well, it's whether or not you want a state's attorney in the office that has proven himself to do the job effectively. I hate to, just be on here and just toot my own horn, but, I'm just trying to state the facts here that, my entire career has been focused on getting ready for this position. I had the opportunity when I was in the Montgomery County State's Attorney's Office. My previous boss got appointed to be a judge. So there was a vacancy in the state's attorney's position. And at that point in time, I'd been an attorney for about the same amount of time as John McCord's been. And I'd been a prosecutor for over twice the amount of time that he was previously. And whenever that position came open, my boss, now a judge, came to me and said, "Are you interested in trying to take this position over?" And at that point in time, I knew that I could have done it. I could have taken the job, but I thought that I wasn't prepared for it. It's extremely difficult. And even though I'd been doing that job as a prosecutor for years and watching him do it, I just knew that the stakes were so high, that there were so many complex, important cases that, I was worried that I was going to miss something technical that I didn't know or wasn't familiar with because I was still new. And I was going to, let somebody off the hook, and they were going to walk when they should have went to prison. So that was a real big concern for me. And I turned that position down. So I've already had the opportunity to be a state's attorney and said, no, I'm just not ready. And that's really where my opponent is right now. He's just not ready for this type of position. He doesn't have the experience necessary. And he really does have, these issues that got him into his hot water in Sangamon County, which are a major concern for a lot of people in the the law enforcement community.
All right. Well, if you don't mind here, we're going to run up and do a timeout. So let me reintroduce you. That's Christian County State's Attorney Wes Mogenpol. He is running for re-election as a Democrat right here on the WTIM Morning Show. More from him after this short break. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. And People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. You can find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook or on YouTube at WTIM TV.
WTIM.
This is Becky Edwards, owner of B&G Administrative Services in Taylorville, your link to a better business day. I am proud to be the exclusive sponsor of the Miller Media Group B&G Administrative Services Business of the Month.
Cheryl Mormon and Charlie Kosirak founded Design with Detail in 2018, making unique balloon designs that have become the hit of local parties, gatherings, and even floats at the Illinois State Fair. They recently moved into a brick-and-mortar location on East Park Street in Taylorville, offering all sorts of party goods and, in the back, additional space called The Venue, which can be rented for intimate gatherings for birthday parties, wedding showers, and more. Find them on Facebook.
B&G Administrative Services congratulates this month's Business of the Month. Find out more on our services by going to bngadmin.com.
Now's the time to order your new 23 vehicle or choose from over 400 pre-owned vehicles in our family dealerships. General Manager Bill Pinkston here from Landmark of Taylorville, your GM Superstore. You can now order your 23 model car or truck, including the refresh Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra. Let us help you choose what 23 will work for you, or let us find your next pre-owned vehicle from our family of dealerships. And yes, we will still buy your vehicle, even if you don't buy from us. Your GM Superstore is Landmark of Taylorville, online at landmarkoftaylorville.com. And remember,
You always do better at Landmark.
That feeling is in the air. It's getting cooler. The leaves are falling. It's fall, and that means bonfires, get-togethers, and farmer-owned Prairie Farms dairy products. Prairie Farms cottage cheese is a great salad or side dish. Dip your favorite vegetable into Prairie Farms' lineup of dips, including French onion and ranch, to make the taste pop. And Prairie Farms sour cream goes great on that baked potato you just took off the grill. Enjoy the fall season with these Prairie Farms dairy products in your grocery or convenience store dairy case.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Tufan from Taylorville Urgent Care. We're a walk-in clinic that's open 7 days a week to take care of sniffles, injuries, broken bones, and more. Find out more by clicking on our icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Just Beds are the yawn exterminators, and they can give you a better night's sleep. Choose from Bemco, Chatham & Wells, Sealy, Simmons, and Tempur-Pedic. Find out the many models and styles available on their updated website by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Your information station. WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show. I'm Avery Cooper. Your stream brought to you by Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better with Landmark. And People's Bank and Trust. They put people first. You can find those streams online on the TaylorvilleDailyNews.com Facebook or on YouTube at WTIM TV. I have Christian County State's Attorney Wes Mogenpol. He's running for re-election as a Democrat. And let's just dive right into some of the issues that you would face upon re-election, Mr. Mogenpol. There's a lot of concern right now of people in jail come January 1st with the Safety Act let out. It's a very convoluting. So maybe first off, provide a little bit of what your understanding is, and I guess what about that concern of people just running free, criminals released out of the jail?
Right.
You know, and I understand there is some factuality to that too.
Yeah, there is. So basically, just try to, in a nutshell, the Safety Act, at least in regards to pretrial detention and release, there's going to be a list of offenses to where they're supposed to be, just across the board, non-detainable. That's where you're not supposed to keep them in jail. And then there's going to be offenses that are detainable, and they can be held in jail without bond. So really, how the process is going to be different than it is, today is, today somebody gets arrested, they go to jail, and then generally I ask for a cash bond to be imposed, and along with the cash bond, conditions of release. So they're, whether that be don't have contact with this person, don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, don't go to bars, don't go to somebody's house that you burglarize, something along those lines. Pretty simple. Or you would think they'd be simple and easy to comply with, but not always. So in those cases, there's going to be some offenses to where, they're issued a ticket and a court date, and they show up to the court date, and then we impose those pretrial release conditions. Other cases, they're going to be detained, and then basically it'll be up to the state to file the paperwork if they're detainable to have a hearing. So it causes, another step in the process to where you have to establish that they're, a danger to a person in the community or danger to the community. Just, we're still kind of waiting on to see what that final language is going to be. And then the judge can either impose say you're going to be in custody until your trial is done and no possibility of posting bond, or they're going to release them on conditions. Some of the things that we already face, because the bond system was reformed several years ago where,
Right.
There are certain, we're already in a situation where there's a lot of offenses that are presumed to be no cash bond, but the judge has discretion to impose a cash bond. And a lot of those offenses, they actually get their bond reduced every day that they're in custody. So they're always working towards release. So other than, the violent offenders and the people that are, dealing drugs, those most of the other offenses are working towards getting out without posting a bond anyway. So whenever somebody gets out of bond, we're back to that same position where, they're going to be required to comply with the rules of pretrial release. And just as we do today, we will, if the law is changed, we'll, file a petition to revoke or modify their bond, and they'll be, we'll ask the judge to issue a warrant for them. They'll be picked up for violating those conditions, and then they'll be back in court to determine whether or not they're going to be in for longer or they're going to be re-released with more conditions. So that's kind of where we're at. So I'm, as the state's attorney, I'm a part of the State's Attorneys Association here in Illinois. It's a group of basically, like it says, it's all the state's attorneys. And we've been having meetings on Zoom to discuss this, and really the State's Attorneys Association is united. This isn't a political issue for me. This is about doing the job, and the State's Attorneys Association is united in that the current version of the Safety Act is not in the best interest for Illinois, and it's not in the best interest of Christian County. So we've been on two fronts. We've been trying to, some counties and the bigger counties that have more resources are filing lawsuits that are going to be consolidated to try to see if this law is unconstitutional. And on the other end, some of the state's attorneys are working on the legislative front to try to get amendments made. So in my hope is that, there's some major changes to it, because the current version isn't what I want to see happen in January 1st.
I appreciate the explanation and what you're doing and your opinion and all that. That's Christian County State's Attorney Wes Pogan. Paul, good luck in the election.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
WTIM.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W241.